So Ilhan Omar says that America is supporting a coup, and she actually sides with the socialist government in Venezuela. What? But talk about a real potential coup. The New York Times now admits that Barack Obama actually did spy on the Trump campaign. We'll look at the details, plus some crazy stuff in education, and our very first Be a Champion profile. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, Ilhan Omar's in the news. She's always making news, and it's on the wrong side of being an American. And here is a recent comment when she was on Democracy Now!, which is a left-wing program on PBS. Take a look at what she said regarding Venezuela.
A lot of the policies that we have put in place has kind of helped lead the devastation in Venezuela. And we've sort of set the stage for where we are arriving today. This particular bullying and the use of sanctions to eventually intervene.
Seriously? Venezuela was rich and thriving. It was the richest country in South America. And now she says that its squalor is because of American influence and American sanctions. It was thriving until socialism through Hugo Chavez and now Nicolas Maduro took over. I mean, what side is she on? She's talking about a coup for a government that's not even recognized by most every country in the Western Hemisphere. But here's the actual potential coup, and it's going on right here in America. The New York Times just admitted in a piece yesterday that Barack Obama was actually spying on the Trump campaign during 2016. And here's a report from The Federalist. Following months of angry claims by journalists and Democratic operatives that the Obama administration never spied on Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign, the New York Times admitted Thursday that multiple overseas intelligence assets were deployed against associates of the Republican nominee. It's not the first time the Times has revealed widespread spying operations against the campaign. In addition to noting that longtime informant Stephen Halper was tasked with collecting intelligence on the Trump campaign, the Times story details how a woman was sent overseas under a fake name and occupation to oversee the spy operation. The woman's real name is not mentioned in the article, though the Times says she went by Azra Turk and has a relationship with unidentified federal agencies. So you have to wonder, why is the Times admitting this now? And I think it's the same reason that the Democrats are freaking out. After Barr's testimony in the Senate this week, the Democrats are in a complete meltdown. And they are freaking out because now there is an attorney general that is actually standing up for what's going on. Before, the DOJ and FBI, as the Federalist notes in their story, would leak constantly to the New York Times anti-Trump information, and they'd run with it. And it was easy to do back then because the Attorney General at the time, Jeff Sessions, recused himself from anything involving Russia, so he wasn't doing his job, and his deputy was part of the problem. Now we have William Barr, and just this morning, Kimberly Strassel over at Fox News has a great opinion piece, and here is what she said regarding Barr and the Democrat reaction. But most of it, the Democrat reaction, is likely fear. Mr. Barr made real news in that the Senate hearing, and while the press didn't notice, Democrats did. The Attorney General said he'd already assigned people at the Justice Department to assist his investigation of the origins of the Trump-Russia probe. He said his review would be far-reaching, that he was obtaining details from congressional investigations, from the ongoing probe by the department's Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, and even from Mr. Mueller's work. Mr. Barr said the investigation wouldn't focus only on the fall 2016 justifications for secret surveillance warrants against Trump team members, but would go back months earlier. This is awesome. This is a big revelation, and it's why the Democrats are freaking out, because he is going to look. You want to talk about Russia collusion? Fine. Russia interference? Fine. Let's really look at it like a real investigation, not a political witch hunt, and that's what Barr's doing, and he's got them freaked out. All right, I want to move on to education now, because there's a story out of Minnesota that's just so troubling. But we talked about education a little bit on the last show, and I was bashing millennials, and some of them fought back in the comments, and I just want to say that not all millennials are bad, and I actually made a list of good millennials. And let's just list a few out. We've got Cody Whedon, who's a regular on the comments. Matt Smith, it's me. Sean Chittick and White, Myron Sanders, Lone Wolf 031, RC Bronco 88, King Ginger, Eli G. So I know there's more out there, but these are just a few of the millennials that spoke up and said, hey, man, easy now. I'm not into socialism. So forgive my blanket statement. I like to bash millennials every now and then. But let's get to the real story here. This is from the Deplorable Housewives, and it shows what's going on in Minnesota. The Minnesota Child Protection League, CPL, tried to warn parents and stakeholders to call legislators to urge them to remove comprehensive sex education, CSE, from the House Education Omnibus Bill. Planned Parenthood will provide the CSE curriculum for Minnesota public schools and has lobbied hard for this legislation. At the center of the CSE curriculum debate is a book called It's Perfectly Normal, which is endorsed by Planned Parenthood. The book contains explicit drawings of male and female anatomy and covers such topics as vaginal, oral, anal sex, homosexuality, and abortion, which will be taught to elementary school students as part of CSE. So here, just take a look at the book. Okay, and the report goes on, and it shows that every Democrat, except for two, voted for this bill. All the Republicans that were present voted against it, and this is a book that is currently in Minnesota school libraries for various elementary schools and junior high schools, and it's just absolutely outrageous, and something needs to be done about it. So, folks, now I want to leave you with I want to bring you the Be a Champion segment. And this is something that I started when I was racing in 2017. And it's just to highlight people that are doing extraordinary things, whether it's business or serving our country or overcoming odds or taking on a new endeavor later in life. It's just something that I want to bring to inspire people that if you've got something you want to do, you can do it. And here are examples. And today I want to start with Eli Crane. Now, Eli Crane is a former Navy SEAL, and he started Bottle Breacher, which is a company that's been featured on Shark Tank. It started with making bottle openers out of 50 caliber rounds, and it has just grown. He got supported by some investors on Shark Tank. It's grown to a multi-million-dollar enterprise, and he is our first profile because he had to overcome obstacles through high school, through the military, and even in starting a business. And he is just the perfect person that represents that inspiring nature that all of us can grab onto to do something great. So I want to put this in because we're lucky enough today to actually have Eli Crane with us. And I'm so excited to talk to him. And Eli, thanks for joining us and thanks for kicking off the Be a Champion segment.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bobby. I'm excited for your show and I'm excited to be here.
Well, man, it's just awesome. And what I want to, you've done so much. And, going from the military, from a Navy SEAL to starting a multi-million-dollar business, I want to give folks kind of a background into the challenges you faced. Because when I was kind of reading up on you, I noticed some of the background from your youth was it was shockingly similar to me and going through some challenges, both family-related and sports-related. And in your case, I believe it was football, and mine was in tennis, and then also going through a divorce when you were still in high school. So how did that, kind of affect your outlook? Or now looking back, how do you think it might have changed you and focused you?
Learning to deal with failure is one of the most important things that we can learn to do in life. And thankfully, I've got to deal with a lot of it. A lot of it is because of just, kind of the lackadaisical half-assed mentality that I took into a lot of things. And I thought I could just kind of, wing it or, coast through. I got kicked around a lot and I failed a lot. And I feel fortunate for that. If you don't go into something prepared, you're not going to be successful. And I think a lot of times we pass the buck to other people and we put the blame on other people instead of, assigning the blame where it belongs. And that's right in the mirror. That's right on our shoulders. And that's what I had to learn to do if I was ever going to become successful, in the SEAL teams or in business. And that's a lesson, that is something that, that I work on every single day. When things go wrong here, even present day, I'm always trying to figure out what could I have done better.
Right. And so the one thing that really strikes home with me and I think with others is that as people go through life, as they reach for different challenges, there's always there's always people along the way. There's teachers, there's coaches, there's professors, there's, commanding officers or mentors. But there comes these situations, maybe it's just by circumstance or by a person's, direct intention, or maybe even it's God's will, but you find yourself either literally or figuratively alone. And you wonder how you're going to get through that. And I was just wondering, how faith might have played a role in that, and how you made it through some of these challenges, both, in the SEAL teams and in business.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. That's something that is great, for me, and, having a strong sense of faith, because I'm never alone, and, I've learned not to look at man or put my faith in man, or, I've got two of the biggest investors in the world as my business partners. But once again, I've learned that, I can't keep my eyes on those guys. As great and as smart and as talented as they are, the moment I take my eyes off of God, it's just like when the disciples were in the boat, Peter took his eyes off of Jesus, and what happened? He looked at the wind and the waves and the storm. And I find myself doing that all the time in life. And every single time I do it, I get into trouble. But when I keep my eyes on God, but I continue to follow him and seek his guidance, wisdom, and direction in everything I do, my life is phenomenal. And that's so counterintuitive. And it's been so hard for me to learn how to do. But it's been really cool too, because I'm a big believer in, unconventional thinking, and I try not to do what everybody else does or think how they think. And so, I'm glad that I've seen the results of putting my faith in a higher power.
Well, right. So talk about, thinking out of the box and doing things differently. You go from the SEAL teams to starting this business, Bottle Breacher. And I want you to talk about that, because the success, someone has to be looking down and watching you, because the success has been awesome. But for those folks, watching 13-Minute News Hour who don't know about it, why don't you give them a little update on how it's going and where it's going from here?
Yeah, this business has been going for about 5 years now. I started Bottle Breacher in a one-car garage in Point Loma, San Diego, while I was a VBSS, a Navy SEAL instructor teaching VBSS, visit, board, search, and seize, basically how to take down a ship to Navy SEALs on the West Coast. I had about 2 years left on my contract, and thankfully I had just enough time to get this business up and running before our episode of Shark Tank aired. And so honestly, the best thing about it is that I'm continuing to get outside of my comfort zone every day. And that's something that I highly recommend to most people, because it's so easy, to try and stay in your comfort zone where everything is hunky-dory and warm and cozy, but you're not really learning anything. And so there's never been a shortage of growing around here. Sometimes it doesn't feel like growth. Sometimes it feels like pain, or that you're going the wrong way. But it's a blessing.
Man, that's awesome. And again, I appreciate you for being on, and we'll get you on again. Let's talk some politics. We didn't even get to talk about any issues or anything. So let's do that again sometime.
I would love to. And for all your watchers out there, Bobby, I want to tell you, hey, if you want to know what happens when you take away firearms from people, it's going down in Venezuela right now. The Venezuelans gave up their firearms in 2012, and now they're throwing rocks and Molotov cocktails at the police that are...
Absolutely, man. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot, Eli.
Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate it, man.
So, folks, that's our program for today. I've got a link in the description to contact us. There's a special selection you can make for Be a Champion, because I want to hear ideas from you on people that we should profile, because we're going to do this from time to time and keep inspiring others. Folks, have a great weekend. I hope it's a good one for you. Tune in Monday. I'm Bobby Eberly. This is a 13-Minute News Hour.